Hallelujah. Tarab Yahweh.
All right. So hopeful that everybody has been in shalom since the last time we studied. Yeah.
Stop, Lemon.
So today we'll just pick back up. It's part 3 of the Parsha. Um, all praises today should wrap it up.
Okay.
Next week we should be able to start the next Parsha. So yeah, all praises. That was one of those things that it was like I could feel it was like this week, this is it. And that's where the fire was like getting lit under me, like, okay, how am I gonna make it fit? Like, what's for this lesson and what's not? Because we still got a lot of space to cover in this Torah portion, but yeah, all praises to the Father. He brought it together. All right, so introduction. So starting off from another pivot point, and then we're gonna dive in. So introduction. So Proverbs 3:1, my son, forget not my Torah, but let your heart guard my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add to you. Let not mercy and truth forsake you. Bind them about your neck. Write them upon the table of your heart. So shall you find favor and tobe understanding in the sight of Elohim and man. And just keep in mind that Noah found favor in the sight of Yahuwah. Trust in Yahuwah with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. Be not wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahuwah and depart from evil. All right, so this is nothing that's new to us, right? But we're going to start to kind of pay attention to this in light of this particular portion and an underlying kind of theme that's going on over the whole portion. Ecclesiastes 12:13, it says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Elohim and guard his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For Elohim shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be tob or whether it be ra'ah or evil. Keep in mind the tree in the garden. All right, so there was a decision that could have been made between tob and ra, between good and evil, if you will. Evil was chose. Even in thinking a combination of the two, the evil pretty much eliminates the tob in a matter when you throw evil on top of that thing. All praises. Man, Ruach is something else. When we start seeing what the lesson is about, all praises. Whew. So as we conclude this parsha, I thought it would be beneficial to reel it back in and look at this parsha from a bird's eye view and draw connections on the overarching message that the Father is showing us. All right, so questions, open questions. So as you studied this parsha, Genesis 6:9 through 11:20-32, did you notice any patterns? Did anybody care to share what patterns y'all noticed, or?
Okay.
No worries.
One pattern that I noticed is when Yahuwah's order goes out, um, his mercy goes out with it. And then instead of blessing, there's curse. Or instead of being above the consequence of sin, there's judgment. And when his order comes back in, so does his mercy. And then instead of curses or the judgments for consequences of sin, there's blessing and there's favor, even unmerited favor.
But another one I just think about Bereshit 6 and Bereshit 11 about how the wickedness of the people, the wickedness that was on the earth, people were wicked and grieved the Most High. The 6, Abiyah destroyed them. In chapter 11, same evil, wicked mindset. Let us come together. Let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They wanted to build something high, and Abba Yahuwah had to confuse their language and their speech because what they were coming together for was not on the right, in righteousness. So I would say the wickedness of people, of humankind, is what I see.
You told me, all praises. So next question. What can we as Israel learn today as we look back at the past in this portion? Is there anything that we can learn for us specifically as Israel from this portion?
So we have the opportunity to, for lack of a better term, save the world. Like he said in one place, if the hearts of the children don't turn back to the fathers and the hearts of the fathers to the children, he's going to smite the earth with a curse. Ain't nobody paying attention to his ways, for his ways to be implemented, for mercy and favor to follow, then he might as well just end it now. If he ain't got no more latter harvest to gather in, he might as well just end it now. So that's why I worded it the way I did.
All praises. We cooking with hot grease today.
I have something to say because I thought about it. And to answer the last question as well, do I notice any patterns? And then to answer this question as well, what can we learn today? And pattern that I learned or see is, and it might not be exactly 6, 9, but it's like between there, is that, okay, first pattern, when Noah found favor in Yahweh's eyes, it was because Yahweh had already made up his mind and was like, okay, no, these mugs is only thinking about wickedness. That's all they imagine in their heart. That's it. That's all. That's what their mind is set to at all times. So he himself said it. Their mindset is on the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. Next pattern, going into the Tower of Babel, we see it themselves. They're saying, let us be of one mind. Let us do this thing together. Their mindset is stuck on something that is against the Father. And so, against the Father is like the key words there, because what can Israel learn today? Well, the Father gonna move when the people is all together of one mind. And like brother was saying, like Ish was saying, if you gonna get a baracking, if your mind is towards righteousness and the result, because as a result of your actions, you either gonna get the blessing or the curse, And so if you are of one mindset, something gonna move, period. Something gonna happen, period. Now, whatever your mindset is towards, well, we're gonna see by the fruit of what the outcome was. Was it a Tov thing that your mindset was on? You're gonna get the blessing. Was it a Ra'ah thing or an evil thing that your mind was on? You're gonna see, because it's gonna be what's gonna look like a curse. come following right behind it.
Mhm.
So that's the pattern that I see. The mindset being of one accord and Yahuwah moving. The mindset being on one accord, Yahuwah moving.
Mhm. All praises.
Yahuwah has no problem with destroying wickedness and sin, and he would do the same for us. He's the same. It doesn't matter.
All praises. Hallelujah. So, all praises. So, did we learn anything about ourselves as mankind in this partial? So, we kind of just touched on that part, right? It's some wrinkles and some kinks that got to get ironed out. And if you ain't willing to iron it out yourself, well, he gonna iron you out and fold you up as well and put you away. And did we learn anything about Elohim and his character? We just touched on that a little bit more, but if anybody want to expound a little bit more on it and his way of dealing with things in his partial.
Just like sis was saying, he ain't got no problem giving a second chance. And whatever have to get wiped out in the process of that second chance, he ain't got no problem wiping it out. He ain't got no problem starting over. I did it, like I said, if I did it once, I can do it again.
Mm.
He has no hangups, no quarrels with, especially when he knows the beginning, the end from the beginning,
Mm.
especially when he knows what it is that's going to come of that thing.
Mm. Yeah, that's heavy.
He ain't got no problem. Like, nah, it is way past this partial, but we can see that kind of situation, that pattern being reflected again in other places later on down the line. Listen, I ain't got no problem starting over, scratch, and starting over again. I'm gonna start over again.
Mhm.
It's not the first time. It's not the last time that he did it. And he has no problem doing that.
Mhm.
We have the problem with getting on his page. We're getting on page with him so that we be part of the ones that have found the favor, that can be on the right side on the righteous side of the judgment. We the ones got the problem with all of that. But yeah, that's what I noticed about his character.
All praises.
I was just saying that he's very patient. Like even though he knows, like you were saying, that from the beginning and all of mankind, he just sitting and waiting, just like now, just waiting. He already has a day set in stone, and no one's going to change that. So he's just sitting there waiting. And if you're doing righteousness, hallelujah. If you're doing wickedness, well, just keep heaping stuff on your head, until judgment day comes, and he'll deal with it all. But patient. I was going to say discipline. Like he doesn't. It's like he has a character of like non-wavering. He doesn't waver. He doesn't doubt. Like he just, like he makes a decision and he sticks with it. He's not a double-minded Elohim. He does what he does, and this is what it is. I'm gonna do it. I have a debt say, hey Noah, you're gonna get this amount of time. People are gonna do what they do, but this is the time I'm gonna give you. And he's not gonna, it's not like one of those, oh, I'm angry. I'm just gonna, no, he can be wrathful, but he's still gonna, what he say, whatever day he say it's gonna be, he's just gonna sit there, and just wait. Instead of like acting out, rashly. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And if I can add just a tit-tat bit more, he's very systematic and methodology. He got methods. That's
Methodical.
methodical. There you go.
There we go.
Yeah. I was mixing up mythology with methodology or methodical. Yeah. So he's very systematic, and there's always a method to the madness,
Mhm.
period. Because I'm thinking in the way that he told Noach the schematics for how he required that ark to be built.
Mhm.
And the schematics ain't changed. We'll see later on down the line from one ark to the next ark to the next ark
Mhm.
to the next ark. The material or the vehicle, the medium might change, but the requirement in the building, come on,
Mhm.
is still the same.
Crazy.
The requirement is still the, so he's very methodical and systematic. And what he said, like I said, he knows the ending from the beginning, because once he sets it or said it, nothing can undo. And if that's the requirement that he set from the beginning, then that's flat out what it is. Ain't no changing it. If you gonna get with it or you gonna get without it. And he ain't gonna feel bad about it, because like you said, sis, he's absolutely long suffering and patient to usward.
Mhm.
He give us every opportunity to get it right, but he also, in giving us the opportunity to get it right, he give us enough rope to hang ourselves.
That part.
And that's usually what we do. We hang ourselves. So with him being very systematic and very particular about what he requires, you know, he give us an opportunity to meet those requirements, but that don't mean he's any less systematic than he was at the beginning. He's no less systematic now than he was from the beginning when he built everything.
Mhm.
And sorry, I dropped my pen. It's just so much to him. It's just so much to him, because as the brother was saying, he's an awesome teacher as well.
Mhm.
I can't even, like, we sitting here thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, is there more characteristics? Absolutely. He's an awesome teacher. He is. Like, he's an awesome teacher in that when you're seeking him for, look, all knowing, when you're seeking him for answers, he gonna tell you like a teacher would. Okay, now watch this.
Mhm.
Watch how that happens. Now watch what comes from it. Now sit back and reflect on that. What did you observe? What he said when I forget who it was that be having the dream. It's a couple of people that have had dreams or visions, and he said, "What seest thou?"
Jeremiah.
And I think also it's like Zephaniah or Zechariah too. One of them, like, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I want to say Zechariah.
Exactly. Yep. And then what seest thou? I see two candlesticks, or I see a tree, and I see this and I see that. What are you looking? Do you know what you're looking at? He's an awesome teacher. He gonna bring up out of you what is supposed to be brought up out of you. He gonna let the lesson come forth, and he gonna teach you from that. He's an awesome teacher. He's an awesome teacher.
All praises. So
If a teacher of Yahuwah and not showing his characteristics, then are you a teacher of Yahuwah? If you're not even showing his characteristics, it makes if you're saying you're a part of Abba Yah, then you gotta be a part of him. You gotta demonstrate what he demonstrates to his people.
Talk about high grease. All right, all praises. So yeah, very important. Like, we learning quite a bit about how the Father moves, how we tend to move, and what we need to do to get on the same page with him, and what happens when we don't. All praises. So the purpose of studying the Parsha. So our goal as followers of Mashiach is to understand the living word for our everyday application. We know, according to Hebrews 7:22 through 28, that we have a heavenly high priest that shows us how we should live by his own perfect example. And we also know that we were called to be the same example as a nation of priests, according to 1 Peter 2, 1 through 12. We'll see that later. Exodus Shemot 19, 5 through 8, Deuteronomy 14, 1 and 2. We're a peculiar people, a set apart nation, a nation of kings and priests. In order for us to become this peculiar treasure in the earth, we must apply ourselves to the application of the word of Elohim. This, the word of Yah, is what qualified the priesthood of Elohim. So without his righteousness and what he established as right, what is the priesthood? It's nothing.
And how deep is that? Because what is the making of a priest? Now, we just touched on how patient he is in his teaching. How does he allow his protection to surround somebody through their mistakes until it clicks, unless they go too far to the left or too far to the right? But if that lesson was there, that mistake and the consequence thereof was meant to turn your heart toward Yahuwah so that you learn to see things his way until you tap into what was predestined for you. What is the making of a priest? And how great is his love for mankind? Like, you have to realize that you are flawed in your ways before you are qualified to implement his ways. You can't even touch the surface of compassion without realizing your own recklessness and desperate need for a savior. Some ran and he didn't send him. That's right. As painful as it is, imagine how he feels. I'm gonna have to put this one down, keep bringing my name up with your foolishness, like I'm really a part of that. But all I really wanted was your toe. But because of your impatience, you see the tool and using it recklessly. It's interesting.
All praises. All praises. So Ezra 17, he was a priest, right? For Ezra, I just put here, a priest. We find that out earlier in the book. Had prepared his heart to seek. And when you look up that word for seek, it's the word derosh, the same root of the same word where we get midrash. This is to deeply study the Torah of Yahuwah. And to do it, not just to study it, just to know it, but to know it for the purpose of doing it. And then once he himself is doing it, then to do what? Then to teach the commandments and the judgments, right? To teach them to Israel. Come on. All praises.
Yeah, as the scriptures say in other places, when your obedience is fulfilled, then be prepared to avenge all unrighteousness. Then be prepared to stand up against it, to teach why not to do those things. First, we have to mature. Scriptures say, he that does the law gets the understanding thereof. So if we stop at questioning why we should do it before we even try it, how are we going to get the understanding? How are we going to learn, oh, that's why that makes sense? We'll be prepared.
All praises. Malachi 2:4 says, and you shall know that I have sent this commandment unto you, that my covenant might be with Levi. Levi, the sons of Aaron, was priest. Says Yahuwah Sabaoth, a covenant was with him of life and peace, and I gave them to him for the fear wherewith he feared me and was afraid before my name. The Torah of truth was in his mouth, and iniquity was not found in his lips. So notice that it was the Torah that was in him that is what qualified him to not be one of having iniquity be found in him, right? But the minute that the Torah gets neglected, what's going to be found in you? And if iniquity is found in you, he's going to say, away from me, I never knew you, you worker of. It's a cold piece. All praises. He walked with me in peace and equity, and did turn many away from iniquity. Same pattern, right? So notice that it was in him, and then because it was in him, that's what qualified him to be able to turn others from iniquity.
Come on, I like all tones of resentment aside. It's one thing to point out the law. It's another thing, a whole nother aspect of the ball game to convince someone else of why they should implement it.
Mm.
You can't do that without understanding. It's
Mm.
not enough to just recite scriptures. We have to practice them until the Father sees fit to be pleased with imparting the understanding of it unto us. And that's done by the communication of his set apart Ruach.
Mhm.
It's not going to land. It's not going to find a place of rest on us or in us without us first qualifying by pushing iniquity to the side to make room for his ways.
All praises.
And then only with that influence of the set apart Ruach can we be tactful enough to not bash somebody over the head with the surface of his legislation, but to impart his ways so that they see the benefit in walking in them too. Like Abraham fed people first and then said, know your allure. Get to know the source of where this comes from and why I'm this way. This ain't because I'm just a told person, but I choose to put this flesh into subjection out of respect for his ways when I see the benefit of them. Therefore, it's nothing for me to share with you what I have because I know where my help comes from.
There we go. All praises. All praises. So, verse 7, he said, for the priest's lips should guard knowledge, and they should seek the Torah at his mouth, for he is the messenger of Yahuwah Sabaoth. So, notice, in order for him to be the messenger, he got to tap in with the one who's sending it, right? With the sender, and seek it at his mouth first, right? Then Leviticus 10:8, and Yahuwah spoke unto Aaron, saying, do not drink wine nor strong drink, you nor your sons with you, when you go into the tabernacle of the assembly, lest you die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, and that you may put difference between set apart and not set apart, or holy and unholy, and between clean and unclean, that you may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which Yahuwah has spoken unto them by the hand of Moses. So notice what's going on here with this priesthood. This is what qualifies the priest as priest. So first they got to know their allure. Then they can spread out and show those that don't know their allure, their allure.
See the same pattern when Mashiach came. In one place, he said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel, period. Like it's no run-on sentence there. But then before the book ends, he gives them an assignment. Now go out to all nations and teach. Like as a kinsman redeemer, he fulfilled the law, being biologically related to this one that got severed because of the consequence of his previous sin that his descendants had to eat from. And now, to set y'all back in order so that the Father's business can be fulfilled, go and do the job that you dropped the ball on in the first place. Be a light in the midst of the darkness and show these people that there's a better way.
And it also shows that Abi Yahuwah selects leaders that goes before him, just like with the prophets. Like, it's just, obviously, he's not common, but he does select people that he has. It's a requirement out there. Like I was saying, once you have understood me, I'll give you the knowledge and the insight and what you need and the wisdom to be able to go show someone else. So that cannot be abused. You know what I mean? So it just shows how Abi Yahuwah has an order with everything he does.
Also, I just like to like the brother was saying, about Hamashiach. He gave that order. He gave, the instructions. He came for reasons that I came for this. Then he gave an instruction following that. It's very rarely that I hear something and I like, maybe a video or whatever it is. Very rarely just like hear something and then it's just like, yeah, you know what? I can agree with that because a lot of times stuff is like, way off in left field. But there is something that I was listening to recently, and just one thing caught my attention. I said, you know what? It caught my attention because that, yeah. And what it was is somebody was saying like, yo, something that especially the Christian kind of church or whatever, kind of missteps at is that we stop at Christ. And I can agree with the brother that was saying this was that he never necessarily intended for us to stop at him. Like that wasn't his intent. Even his whole walk, he's to look to the Father, look to the Father. He was an example. Why? That greater things than these shall ye do. That we become in some respect that also that sacrifice, also that propitiation, also that one. I looked for a man that would stand in the gap and there was none. No, so that we can become these men and women that will stand at the mediators. Yeah. Right.
I'm gonna help you get them in order. I'm gonna help teach them your way. Don't destroy them, Father. Like Mashiach came to, it said, be the firstborn among many. So he came to produce many me's. You know what I mean? Like we just point at him. No, he did it. No, you supposed to do it too.
Right. That part.
I'm showing you that if you would put your will away and accept the Father's and do the Father's business, greater things than what I did, you can do too. Why? Because he's gonna show up through you.
And that makes me think on why. So you have not because you asked not, and you have not because you asked, but you asking amiss. Because you asking for it that you may consume it on your own lust. You're not asking for it that you may do justice and that you may do judgment and that you may see about the widow and the fatherless and the orphan. You're not asking for it that you can free the oppressor. You're not asking for it that you may relieve the depressed. You're not asking for it for righteousness' sake that you may accomplish all of these goals that the Father has set forth. No, you asking for it so that you can have a Benz airplane. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, let me be the oppressor.
Yeah.
And it just had me thinking about why Moshe was the humblest of them all. I was just mentioning. I was just thinking about how like he was prepared to say, no, blot me out the book. Like one of the characteristics of a leader, like that humility you have, like to be able to care for other people more than you care for yourself. Like that's what the heart that Abihu was searching for. To be able to die for somebody. Like some people now, I will never say that. Don't blot me out. Hold on, wait a minute. I gotta get mine. But that's what made Moshe so beautiful was how he was, humble in that way. Okay.
All praises. We're gonna touch on that aspect of it a little bit more in the next Torah portion when we're dealing with Abraham. But yeah, all praises. Intercessor. So all praises. So 2 Timothy 3:12, it says, yeah, and all that will live in the fear of Yahuwah and Mashiach Yahusha shall suffer persecution. But evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. But continue in the things which you have learned and have been assured of, knowing of whom you have learned them, and that of a child you have known the set apart scriptures, which are able to make you wise unto salvation through belief which is in Yahushua HaMashiach. All scripture is given in the Ruach of Yahuwah and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of Yah may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all Tob works. So earlier we saw what? A choosing between Tob and Ra. And now we're going to see that there's going to be something that we got that's going to furnish us so that we can choose the Tob and eschew the evil. Right? Second Chronicles 15:1. It says, and the Ruach of Elohim came upon Azaryahu, the son of Oded, and he went out to meet Asa and said unto him, hear you me, Asa, and all Yehuda and Benjamin. Yahuwah is with you while you be with him. And if you seek him, he will be found of you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. Now, for a long season, Israel has been without a true Elohai, true allure, and without a teaching priest. So we've been learning about the priest, and somehow Israel done got to the state where they done fell off. And they ain't been being taught because there ain't been no teaching. And the very thing he told us not to do, he said, nah, it shouldn't be so as you are doing this day to day. When you go off into your land, don't do every man according to his own sight, making a law unto yourself. No, don't do that. This shouldn't be. I'm giving you this Torah now, so that way when you go into the land, all you got to do is just rule out of that.
Yeah.
They done fell back and then diverted back into this state as though they be one of the nations. But when they were in trouble and did turn unto Yahuwah their Elohim of Israel and sought him, he was found of them. So this is the key, because we in a similar place today.
Yes. Yes.
And in those times, there was no peace to him that went out, nor to him that came in, but great vexations were upon all the inhabitants of the countries. Again, looking around, where are we at today? And nation was destroyed of nation, and city of city, for Elohim did vex them all with adversity. But you be strong, therefore, and let not your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded. So for us who are willing to put our hand to the plow, right, and turn the sword into a plow hook, right, instead of worrying about destruction, how about we turn these weapons into something that can be useful for cultivating good fruit?
That part. Come on. That part.
There we go. That's what's going to position us as a set apart nation, a holy priesthood. He said in another place when he was giving them the Torah that, oh, this is going to be your wisdom before all of the nations. And then they're going to look at you and say, well, what nation is there such as wise as this?
With the Elohim so close.
With an
to them.
Elohim so close to them.
Come on. That part. That part. Come on.
I just want to know how, this wasn't the only place that it was mentioned. About your hands being strong and your works being rewarded. This is Zechariah chapter 8. I'll just read verse 9. It says, thus saith the Adonai of hosts, let your hands be strong, ye that hear in these days these words by the mouth of the prophets, which were in the day that the foundation of the house of the Adonai of hosts was laid, that the temple might be built. For before these days, verse 10, there was no hire for man, nor any hire for beast, neither was there any peace to him that went out or came in because of the affliction. For I set all men, everyone against his neighbor. Verse 11, but now I will not be unto the residue of this people as in the former days, saith the Adonai of hosts. For the seed shall be prosperous, and the vine shall give her fruit, and the ground shall give her increase. All the way back in the garden, it was cursed. It was the other way around. Why? For the forsaking of Yahuwah. I'll just stop there. But you see his heart.
Mhm.
and what his desire is for us. If we would just choose the Tob instead of the Ra.
All praises. All praises. So now we finally get into the Torah portion part. All right. So understanding the clean from the unclean in a parsha of Noah, right? Because this is what the priests were supposed to do. Right. So Genesis 7:1, it says, and Yahuwah said unto Noah, come you and all your house into the ark, for you have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast you shall take to you by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by two, the male and his female. Of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon all the face of the earth. So notice here how Noah understood the difference between clean and unclean. We see that he was considered righteous in his generation. So we can conclude that he understood the difference between Tob and Ra, or good and evil as well, right? Notice here that there was a role and function that was designated to the birds of the air, right? So specifically, the birds have a task of doing what? Keeping seed alive in the face of the earth. All praises. So here's our word for clean, tahor, H2889, and it means pure. In a physical, chemical, ceremonial, or moral sense, clean, fair, pureness. Comes from, well, before we get to that, here it is in a Brown Driver's Brig, same word, 2889, pure or clean. It's just clean ceremonially of animals, pure physically, pure, clean, morally, and ethically. Comes from the root word taher, which means properly to be bright. That is, by implication, to be pure, physically sound, clear, unadulterated, Levitically uncontaminated, morally innocent, or set apart, holy. To be or make oneself, or to pronounce clean, to cleanse self, to purge, to purify self. All right, so this is what David referred to in Psalm 51 when speaking of his heart. Same exact word, Lev Tahor. Psalm 51:10, create in me a clean heart, O Elohim, and renew a right ruach within me. So notice when things are mixed, they are no longer pure or clean / uncontaminated, just as I was saying earlier, right? It becomes defiled. Once something gets mixed in, it taints it, right? All praises.
I just said that's the angle of the enemy, knowing that the awakening is sure to happen. If I can't stop it, I'm gonna try to slow it down by encouraging the people to feed their unchastened lust with uncleanness, even though they got a seed of righteousness in them.
All praises. So let's see what we can further glean about the clean versus what is not clean from the Parsha and how it can help us understand a greater spiritual lesson. So, and Sis has brought it up a couple times leading up into this about the nature of these two birds that get sent out, right? So Genesis 8:6, it says, and it came to pass at the end of 40 days that Noah opened the window of the ark which he had made, and sent forth a raven, which went forth to and fro, and until the waters were dried up from off the earth. So he let it free, and this thing is just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And he sent also a dove from him to see whether the waters were abated from off the face of the ground. But the dove found no rest for the sole of her foot. And she returned unto him into the ark, for the waters were on the face of the whole earth. Then he put forth his hand and took her and pulled her in unto him into the ark. And he stayed yet other 7 days. And again, he sent forth the dove out of the ark. And the dove came in to him from the evening, came in to him in the evening, and lo, in her mouth was an olive leaf plucked off. So Noah knew that the waters were abated from off the earth. And he stayed yet other 7 days and sent forth the dove, which returned not again unto him anymore. So here's my question. What can we gather about the characteristics of both the raven and the dove? I just want to make sure that might be like make sure it's right. Because if it slide down, it's gonna kill both. Gotcha.
Well, looking at the raven, you see something that's only submission is truly to his own will.
I agree.
And with the dove, although it had the liberty, it's got wings. You can do what you want to, but it's still submitting to the help. It's submitted to the authority of Noah and being an aid in Noah's mission, which requires sacrifice.
What else goes to and fro amongst the earth? Hashatan, Satan. Where did you come from going to and fro? Doing Iyob's situation. And then the scripture we just talked about, 2 Corinthians 15, 1-7, makes you think about and should return to the ark. So I just thought about when it said, for a long time, Yasrael was not without Elohim, but in trouble, they sought Yahuwah and he was found. And so it's like, well, return to Abba Yahuwah, you'll find him. You know what I mean?
All praises. All I can see is like a big cauldron, a big pot of grease. You know how you get it up good and hot, and then you throw the food in it, and it just splashing and popping all over the place. Hot grease. All praises. So the raven and the dove. All right. So H6158, that's our word for raven or Abe. From H6150, a raven. From its dusky hue. That's what this joint is, right? All praises. H6150, the root, a rob. I wonder, I'll leave that alone. So might be some folks walking around this. Might be, but we'll just, okay, all right. So a primitive root, rather identical with H6148 through the idea of covering with a texture to grow dusky at sundown. So not sunrise. You ain't going towards the light, but you're going towards the darkness. To be darkened toward evening. H6148, a rob, a primitive root to braid, that is to intermix. Technically to traffic, as if by barter. And notice, I just want to say that that's what like Silk Route and the Silk Road, and that's what this particular group
Arabians. There are Arabs.
There we go.
And Arabians were known for the trade and the bartering of the things. That's just it. I mean,
That's what. Here we go.
Looking at root words here, you know. So,
and is it possible that this is also, we'll see in later Torah portions, a mixture of this group with this group with this group? They all mix together and they become
Arabians.
There we go.
And that's why you have. We see that now too. Like even to this day, certain, I guess, like I'll just put it like this. The thing that comes to my mind is like Bedouins. You have, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Native Bedouins, but then you have Arabian Bedouins. So you have native tribes, and then or version or kinds or nationalities. You have native national, then you have Arabian nationalities in certain places, and they are distinct one from another. And the Arabians will let you know, we are Arabs, we are this, and it just is what it is. I'm not saying anything good or bad. It's interesting how we look at the word roots and we see a manifestation of it. It just is what it is.
All praises. All praises. So to give or to be a security, as I was bringing out, we're going to see this same thing happens later on in the later Torah portion. To engage or meddle with, to mingle self, to mortgage, to occupy, to give pledges, to become a surety or to undertake. So we notice that something about the characteristics or the quality of the Arab or the raven is, I might rock with you for a little second, but what's in it for me? How can we make this work for my benefit? And otherwise, hey, I'm gonna keep doing what I do. All praises. And then here's our word for a yonah or a dove, right? H3123, probably from the same as 3196, a dove apparently from the warmth of their mating, a dove or a pigeon. So it's something about how they move that it's a warmth to them. It's a affection, if you will, about them, a docile nature about this bird that's a lot different than how the raven was operating.
Okay, there are a little tidbit of information about doves.
All praises.
I like doves a lot. The mourning dove is like my favorite bird.
All praises.
So doves are typically monogamous. They will mate for life. And also with doves, both the mother and father dove produce milk for the young. It's not an literal milk because it's not a literal milk because they have teats or anything, because they don't. They lay eggs. But what it is like after they eat their food, they hold it. You know how like a cow would chew cud, swallow it down, and it comes right back up. That's kind of like what a dove will do. It'll get so much food, and the food will like mix and blend and get digested, and they'll spit it back up, and they call it crop milk. Both the mother and the father dove do this for the little one, and they will feed that little one until it's ready to get out of the nest and fly on its own. They both are equally responsible. However, the father dove or the mother dove is the main one that does sit on the egg, that does the most nurturing. But the father dove, he does that because it's like, I think I was reading and it said, like, during the night and during the most part of the morning, the mother will sit on the egg or sit with the young, but for a couple of hours, that father dove will come back and take care of the young, specifically so the mother will go do what she needs to do and get food for herself. So he comes and relieves the mother of her duties and takes over like they're both responsible in the rearing of that baby.
All praises.
The warmth.
All praises. All praises.
I'm just saying, like, that touches on the warmth of their mating. You know what I mean? The strength of their bond and their relationship, the value that they place on it. Birds of light, birds of the darkness.
All praises. And then just since we was on it, I thought about putting that this little tidbit. Not that was actually something I did not know, but a little tidbit about kind of how they operate. You know, like ravens and crows and those of that family, you know, they can talk like parrots.
Yeah.
Like they're very highly intelligent, and they'll often steal, like, you know, they're robbers.
Yep.
They use that intelligence to steal. They can be trained though. You can teach them to say words and everything, but they are a raven and crows, yeah. But they're, let's just say that they have an unruly side to them. Whereas a dove is a highly trainable bird. Pigeon Express, at one point in time, USPS was pigeon mail.
That's also how they used to trade on Wall Street. Pigeons were used. I think that's how one of the families, not the Rockefellers, but is one of those, top families.
Hearing about that. Yeah. And the stock went like crazy.
Yep, because they would use carrier pigeons to trade because it was much faster than telegram.
All praises. So H3196, the root, surprisingly, is yain, wine. To effervesce, wine is fermented by implication, intoxication, banqueting, wine, a wine bibber. So this is not saying this is what was the Beyonce song in Jay-Z, Drunken Love, right? This is it's speaking to an intoxicated, they're in that infatuation that these two have with one another.
They're fully enthralled and engulfed in one another, fully involved and fully in yeah.
There we go. And there's a banqueting. You notice when you take wine, it brings a certain cheer and joyfulness and a certain mirth to your spirit. That's the character of these birds. A raven is a little bit different, right? So the raven and the dove. So the raven was sent forth, as Ak was saying, and we see that it went to and fro, as Akwati was saying. The Hebrew word for raven has its root in arab, which means to intermix or mingle. This is also where the word for evening, so the same, there was morning and there was evening, same word, comes from, as it is a mixture of light and darkness before going into the night, or period of total darkness. There is also something to be said about it going to and fro. Ravens are unclean animals, which generally have the tendency to be scavengers. On the other hand, we have the dove, a yonah, which is a clean bird often used as a sacrifice to Yahuwah. They are considered pure and innocent, and the Ruach is seen descending as a dove upon Mashiach during his immersion as a sign from Yahuwah. So a little bit about the raven. Deuteronomy 14:11, of all clean birds you shall eat, but these are they which you shall not eat: the eagle, the ossifrage, the osprey, the glebe, the kite, the vulture after his kind, and every raven after his kind.
Didn't note this before, but it's interesting due to this coming out. Looking at the dove's life, it's almost a reminder of what Yahuwah's asking our response to be to his covenant. Whew. And then looking at how the raven lives, it is the opposite of what our response to his extension of the covenant should be. Lukewarm, dibble and dabble with it, come and go as we will, and then expect him to just be there fully invested. Nah.
It just it also makes me think, on not trying to jump ahead or anything like that, but it means, like, what comes to my mind is that word Yana. There was a prophet named Yana, and he said, no other sign shall you be given except that of Yana. What's the sign of the dove? What is the dove known for? Not just talking about the prophet itself, but what's his name? What's he known? What is his character? Even the prophet, what was his characteristic? He tried to go to and fro, but eventually he came right back to where he was, to the ark, where he was supposed to go to.
All praises.
Sorry. So
All praises. All praises. And mind you, the raven can't sit still and be, and it's not even meant to be sacrificed to Elohim.
Huh?
The dove is. And even though it knows that it's going to be a self-sacrifice, I mean, I'm not saying that it knows, but even though it's a self-sacrifice, it's still willing to serve.
Mankind got a bad case of the struggles. Struggle to comprehend, struggle to recognize what's what, which way is up. Like everything else in existence knows how honorable it is to be sacrificed on Yahuwah's behalf. And the creatures even know how dishonorable it is to be used as an unclean, as an unrighteous sacrifice for the sake of wickedness, something used to anger your creator. The animals ain't even willing to do that. But mankind doesn't consider.
Mm. The ox knows his owner. Okay. All praises. All praises. Leviticus 13 says a little bit more. We know that the raven is unclean. But what else about it? And these are they which you shall have an abomination among the fowls. They shall not be eaten. So he don't want this to be a part of you. They are an abomination. If you take in that abomination, then you become abomination. The eagle, the ossifrage, the osprey, the vulture, and the kite after his kind. Every raven after his kind. Perhaps it's something that about the way that these birds operate and move that's abominable. Just
come on.
all right. And when we operate as they operate, then that makes us
Abominable.
all praises.
Come on.
So, understanding the raven from the book of Jubilees. So we'll take a little pit stop. But it's quite interesting when we look at this. Sorry, y'all, it's all small, but was trying to fit this all on one slide. But and then just mind you, notice the pictures on the side as we read through it. Because you're gonna see how these ravens, how these crows, how they behave. and how they behave even towards mankind. Now, mind you, that he said in Genesis 7, what was those birds supposed to be for? That they might preserve the seed in the earth. We're gonna see that these crows, these ravens, the ravens after their kind, they do something else with the seed in the earth. Jubilees chapter 11, verses 10. We getting ahead a little bit because it's dealing with Abraham, but I couldn't wait. So, so Jubilees 11:10, it says, and a prince Mastema, and this is an adversarial leader of unclean evil, ruachs, unclean spirits. All right, so we'll tap a little, we'll look a little bit into this figure on the next slide, a little bit more. I didn't want to get too sidetracked because that's a whole nother thing in itself, and the father wasn't leading it that way. So, but we will look at this a little bit more as it ties into this lesson. So it says, and the prince Mastema, an adversarial leader of unclean evil spirits, sent ravens and birds to devour the seed which was sown in the land. So notice which one he's using and which one is willing to. Now, the raven got sent out by Noah to do a purpose for Elohim, wasn't willing to do it. But now you're going to notice that it's something about the will of this raven and the will of this Prince Mastema that can't get on one accord, and now he's willing to do the bidding for that leader.
Come on, sir. Come on, sir.
All praises.
Parallel with Raven and Satan, how Satan was, with the fourth of the Malachim's falling from, shows his disobedience and because he had a chance as well, but he rebelled.
All praises. We cooking with hot grease.
Come on.
So I'm gonna just start over. So it says, and Prince Mastema sent ravens and birds to devour the seed which was sown in the land in order to destroy the land. Remember Genesis 7:3. This is the opposite of what this bird was meant to be used for. And rob the children of men of their labors. Before they could plow in the seed, the ravens picked it from the surface of the ground. And for this reason, he called his name Terah, because the ravens and the birds reduced them to destitution and devoured their seed. And the years began to be barren, owing to the birds, and they devoured all the fruit of the trees from the trees. And it was only with great effort that they could save a little of all of the fruit of the earth in their days. And in this 39th Jubilee, in the second week in the first year, Terah took to himself a wife, and her name was Edna, the daughter of Abram, the daughter of his father's sister. And in the 7th year of this week, she bare him a son, and he called his name Abram, by the name of the father of his mother, for he had died before his daughter had conceived a son. And the child began to understand the errors of the earth, speaking of Abram, that all went astray after graven images and after uncleanness.
Here we are on the cusp of mankind has no idea what, but Yahuwah knows what's coming. Where we do know desolation's on the way. And in the days of Abram, the earth was in destitution. And apparently not many knew to turn to Yahuwah, so they turned to idolatry.
Mm.
And then, there's the manipulators that make idols, increasing the wickedness on the earth because it's an opportunity for them to cash in. We're going to milk this cow. It's our season. Just interesting.
All praises. So, verse 15, it says, and the child began to understand the errors of the earth and all that went astray after graven images and after uncleanness. And his father taught him writing. And he was 2 weeks of years old. And he separated himself from his father that he might not worship idols with him. All praises. 14 years old. Yep. And he began to pray to the creator of all things that he might save him from the errors of the children of men, that this portion should not fall into the error after uncleanness and vileness. Now notice the raven is an unclean bird. The dove is a clean bird. And the seed time came for the sowing of seed upon the land, and they all went forth together to protect their seed against the ravens. And Abram went forth with those that went, and the child was a lad of 14 years. And a cloud of ravens came to devour the seed. And Abram ran to meet them before they settled on the ground, and cried to them before they settled on the ground to devour the seed, and said, descend not, return to the place whence you came. And they proceeded to turn back. So just something that I looked in the earth for a man to stand in the gap, but I found none.
When Yahuwah's ways come in, so come his mercy. But usually sprinkled in with that mercy is his authority, his dominion. Like, I'm sure the ravens didn't turn back because Abraham scared them. They weren't afraid of some man when they was wreaking havoc on mankind. But whose authority was he operating under because of his submission? And the story tells us that this time he was still kind of ignorant of exactly who Allure was. But it was something about the condition of his heart.
Started that pattern of shooing away the bird from the sacrifice. And it and also like what you were talking about, with the ravens. Because he was scary, because in another place in the scripts it talk about the ravens plucking out your eyes. So they be
Forgot to put that in this lesson.
Ugh.
Mhm.
Like they will pluck out your eyeballs.
Proverbs 30.
Yep.
Yep.
And so we know, like it's like you said, it's not because he was just that kind of scary individual, because with enough of them, and this is another thing about ravens and crows, another like a fun fact, because I was looking at birds. No. There are some birds that will tend to gang up on and mob larger more predatory birds. Crows and ravens are amongst those that will mob like a hawk or an eagle or something like that.
Mhm.
They will turn around. They will also create, because of the nature of crows and ravens, they'll also get ganged up on by smaller birds too, because they do themselves have quite a predatory or scavenging kind of a nature.
Mhm.
But they are also known to do the mobbing as well. So if they will mob on something, that they wouldn't probably wasn't scared of no one little person if it was enough of them,
Mhm.
you know. So I just
Funny story. One day I was going to the post office and saw, this was in the spring, I believe it was, a rabbit had just given birth, and you see these crows swarming and attacking this baby rabbit and trying to separate the mother from trying to hunt the baby rabbit. And I ended up shooing them, but no, they definitely will. That's their nature. Like they definitely have no issue with doing that. Also, just keeping in mind to bring out another point, they were sent by this Prince Mastema.
yeah.
So now, if this is the case, and they know that this is a high-ranking Ruach, if you will, we'll just put it like that, entity, they were willing to turn away from what he told them to do at the sight of Abraham. They're traders, they're barterers. What's in it for me? Well, all the while, it was told for me to do this because the benefit was I'm going to eat to my fill. But now I'm going to weigh out these options. We don't want no problems with him or the one that sent him, the authority or the power that's in him. We'll all get wiped. So sorry, Prince Mastema, we can't work for you. All praises. All praises. All praises. Mm-hmm. Con. All praises. So, verse 19, it says, and he caused the clouds of ravens to turn back that day 70 times. Y'all say 70. 70 times. And all of the ravens throughout all of the land where Abram was there, settled there, not so much as one. All right, so he sent all of them away. All praises. And then, you know, all I could think about, I debated it. I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. It wasn't a good picture I could find. The Wiz, you can't win. And I just see like Scarecrow, Michael Jackson, and like the crows. I was like, yeah, but you know what? All right, we'll leave it alone. But yep, 14. But as you can see, there is a such thing as a scarecrow specifically for this purpose, because this is the nature of these birds. So, praises. So, Mastema and the Ravens. All right. So this is an excerpt from the encyclopedia.com on Mastema. But I figured since we weren't gonna go the route of trying to explain all of these ruachs and all of it, I figured just a little bit on it. So Mastema, Hebrew Mastema, the name of the devil in the book of Jubilees. He is there identical with Hashatan or Satan. And on one occasion, the author speaks also in Jubilees 120 about the spirits of Belial. Remember, earlier in one of the parts of the Torah portion, we was talking about the sons of Belial. And leave that there. There we go. All praises. Like other works originating in the broader movement within the Dead Sea sect came into existence, the Book of Jubilees is characterized by a dualistic trend. And in it, the devil Mastema plays a great role, being the opponent of the forces of righteousness. He is the chief of evil spirits. After the flood, a tenth of his spirits received permission from Elohim to execute the power of his will on the sons of men. And the other 9 parts were imprisoned in the place of condemnation. And again, this is just an excerpt directly, quote unquote, from encyclopedia.com on Mastema and what they had to say about it. Just something to think about, that he's synonymous with Hashatan. We know in Hebrew, Hashatan is just, it's not necessarily a name, but a title, right? It means the adversary, right? There we go. So, interestingly, Prince Mastema, which Mastema means hatred or hostility, he's the prince of hostility or hatred, is said to refer to the adversary, Hashatan, of the book of Job. This is interesting when we consider the behavior of the raven in Genesis 8. Now, notice that he's the one that sent these ravens. And notice that the raven goes to and fro. And then we know in Job, he's going to and fro and he do the same thing. So remember, the raven went to and fro on the earth just as the adversary did in Job. So Genesis 8:7, and he sent forth a raven which went to and fro until the waters were dried up from off the earth. And then something that's interesting also about that is notice that as soon as these waters is dried up off the earth, he's not even doing that no more. He just gone, doing his own thing. The only reason why he going to and fro and back and forth frantically is because there ain't nowhere I ain't quite found a place where I can set my foot.
Right. I was just thinking about that over here. Like he was going to and fro and flying back and forth. Like he was really, when you think about that, like he's even against his own self. Because one thing about a dove is the doves, they're stocky, they're sturdy, they're built and have been known to travel long distances. I'm talking about from country to country. They use them for racing because they are so muscular. I heard that about a raven or a crow. So they're against their own nature. Talk about like what you were just talking about, going to and fro. It would have behooved that bird to come back and rest his foot. But at all costs, I refuse to. I'm just going to and fro.
Finally
I'm going
free.
to do my own thing.
That's what the scriptures is talking about. I'm trying to give you life, but because you hate instructions so much, you don't even realize what I'm trying to offer you is to your toe. So instead, you choose your detriment, but you're so blinded by your will to just do your own desire, you can't even see it.
All praises. All praises. So Job 1:6, it says, now there was a day when the sons of Elohim came to present themselves before Yahuwah, and Shaitan came also among them. And Yahuwah said unto Shaitan, from whence come you? Then Satan answered Yahuwah and said, from going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And Yahuwah said unto Satan, have you considered my servant Iob or Job, that there is none like him in the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that fears Elohim and eschews evil? Then Satan answered Yahuwah and said, does Iob or Job fear Elohim for naught? So notice that this Prince Mastema, this prince of hatred, hostility, this is what his motives are.
Come. And just like to note how the 10th part of Mastema's Ruachs received permission to continue in the earth doing Mastema's will. So what is Mastema to Yahuwah?
Mhm.
Like, has anybody ever seen somebody bake the old school way where they sifting flour so that the finer things are collected in one place
Mhm.
and those things that are undesirable are separated off to the side?
Mhm.
Note that he is Prince Masterman or Master Teacher of hatred and hostility.
Mhm.
Now, note the bait and switch when something stops you from doing your will in the moment, and then you have that brief moment to take a deep breath and decide you're going to feed into it or operate out of patience so that you can bring forth the fruit of the set apart rock. I want to read Amos 9, verses 9 and 10. For lo, I will command and I will sift the house of Israel among the nations, like as corn is sifted in the sea. Yet shall not the least grain fall upon the earth. So you ain't got to be the biggest grain, but if you the right type of grain, you'll be preserved.
Mhm.
All the sinners of my people shall die by the sword, which say the evil shall not overtake nor prevent us. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing about what I'm doing. I'm gonna do what I want to do. In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of Dawid that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins, and I will build it as in the days of old. But I just went there to point out, yeah, he said he's gonna sift the house of Israel.
Mhm.
But how is he gonna sift it?
Mhm.
You're gonna have the opportunity, just as always, to choose life or death.
Mhm.
It's gonna be based off your meditations, your motive, your desires, and how you use your will.
Mhm.
Either you're gonna show yourself a son of Belial
Mhm.
or a son of light.
All praises.
Just like when we were saying earlier, very few things to listen to and kind of agree with, and when I hear them, but just speaking to how it might be I'm gonna say it's just me. I'm gonna say it's a misstep or a mishap of the church stopping at Christ. Something else is also the understanding of who Hashatan is, just like the brother's talking about. We don't understand his role or even his position to and within. Yeah. So we sitting here looking at him as if, oh, he's this big bad boogeyman, and you got to rebuke and this, that, and the third. You got to rebuke yourself. Exactly. He's literally, like the script says, he's seeking who he may devour, who he has permission and who has let him in and have shown themselves to be a son of Belial who is fallen for the okie doke. That's who he got permission to sift. That's who he got permission to devour. The one who have opened up the door and fallen for the okie doke. The one who is not really understanding. No, you're here specifically to prove me. This is an opportunity to show forth myself, studied and approved, a workman needing not to be rebuked, rightly dividing the scriptures, showing forth the characteristics of my Father, because at the end of the day, no matter what happens to me, it's going to work towards my good. I know it's a lot easier said than done because we can go through hell sometimes. We really can. But Most High willing, with the better understanding of why things are happening. No, this is literally to prove me. This is not for my evil. This is to take me to a whole new level within the Father. He's trying to prove me so that he can call me friend. Let me show, if you would have a friend, you got to show yourself friendly, right? Shall we accept the Tov and not the Ra? So when we do understand prayerfully, it's my prayer we can begin to understand Hashata and Hamashiach's roles better, because we're not supposed to stop at Hamashiach like he the only one that's supposed to do certain things. No, because he told us. Raven the dove. Look, hallelujah. We not we not supposed to stop at Hamashiach, just like we're not supposed to cower down to Hashatan.
Didn't we were reading about how Abram pushed aside the ravens, right? And so it just made me think about how, like, Abram, did he know the characteristics of a raven and why he chose to send him out first, to and fro? Because it's like, right, and even that, like, maybe, saving a dove some energy, like, you don't need to be going out there because it's not time, or maybe just the testing period. But and also, like, well, I know what he's gonna do. I'm just gonna send him out to see what to see, where we at, and then when it was time, and then that part too, exactly. So yeah, and then send the dove last because he knew the, like, almost like like how Adam studied the characteristics of the animal, same with Abram. I feel like he understood what he was dealing with.
Let them go 2-1, one with another. All praises.
I was gonna say that is deep, because even in that we could possibly make an argument that, not saying that Noach was, Yahweh or anything like that, but if he's the one who's operating under the authority and instruction under Yahweh, he is the authority in the earth at the time.
Mhm.
So we could even think of it, okay, he was trying to get at Raven mercy.
Mhm. Mhm.
Trying to give him mercy. If you would, but when I send you out to do a mission, to complete a mission for me, you refuse to come back and bring and subject yourself unto me.
Mhm.
You could have, but you're choosing not to.
Mhm. And mind you, this is not the only time and the only day that he sent this bird out. Well, the raven he got his one shot and it just never came back. It's I free at last. I couldn't wait. And who know how this thing was acting on the ark. That's just my imagination. That's just my imagination. But who know how this thing? All praises. And
But given the nature of it, he's sitting there staring at it.
Mhm. Send them out.
I'm saying,
Let them.
in one place, it said that when Noah chose him to go out, he accused Noah of unrighteousness. Like, listen, it's not as many of us unclean birds as there are clean birds. He accused Noah of trying to send him to his death so that Noah can have his part. It's like, come on, bird. You just ridiculous. But you accuse the authority, the one that, okay, has your provision. Because that's how twisted you are. Like,
Mhm.
come on.
Yep.
That's
All
hilarious.
praises. All praises. So, have you noticed the parallel between the characteristics of the raven and the adversary? Notice how it goes to and fro, back and forth, being driven by its own will. It was sent out with a purpose from its master, but instead of performing its duty, it goes out and does what it wants to do. It does not return back to its master, but instead it becomes its own master by acting in rebellion to his orders. If you can recall, we also see a similarity with Cain. Remember, he was cursed in the earth as a wanderer and a vagabond, one who goes to and fro. Notice we behave this way and operate out of the same ruach when we have a double mind. This is perhaps also what James was referring to when he opens his letter, which is why he advises that we count it all joy when we overcome temptation. He also understands that it is not of Elohim to tempt with evil, but that this happens when one is enticed and drawn away because of one's own desires. James 1. So it says, my brethren, count it our joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your belief works patience. So now notice what this prince of hostility, notice how he operates and what he comes to do. And then notice that we actually can look at this, as I always says, as an opportunity to not to sin, but as an opportunity to sin not. And noticing that if we can overcome and become an overcomer, all of the tobe and all of the blessing that's on the other side of it. If only we can stay mindful of that and to understand just what the purpose of this Hashatan, actually what his purpose is. It's all in you, right? Oh man, you don't figure out. He just used as a proving ground to say, okay, well, if there is some Ra in him, let me do what I need to do to see if it's going. If he bite the bait, then that was in him. I didn't put it there. It was in him. It was in her. All praises. So,
Just like looking at the whole equation from the beginning. I love how you put it. This is the parable of the wheat and the tares. Like all of that time capsule from the fall of mankind to the kingdom to come. This is the parable of the snaps for Yahuwah. It gets deep, but without Shaitan doing what he does, we couldn't be proven a friend unto Yahuwah. We need this testing. Without it, we're just stuck on the outskirts.
And if I can say too, like, yeah, he goes through seeking whom he may devour. We even have instructions for that sifting process. Resist Hashatan, and what?
he shall flee.
Not he might. He will flee. Put up resistance against that temptation that he is presenting to you. Put up some resistance or some fight against, oh, thank you. Put up some fight against what it is he's trying to convince you to do. And when he see that he don't have permission to run free and rampant in that ground, oh, he gonna move. He gonna take the path of least resistance. He gonna go somewhere else.
All praises. So, knowing this, that the trying of your belief works patience, but let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Yah. Remember how we open? Proverbs 3. That gives to all men liberally and upbraids not, and it shall be given. And it shall be given him. But let him ask in belief or faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavers is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of Yahuwah. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted, but the rich in that he is made low, because as a flower of the grass he shall pass away. For the sun is no sooner risen with a burning heat, but it withers the grass, and the flower thereof falls, and the grace of the fashion of it perishes. So also shall the rich man fade away in his ways. Blessed is the man that endures temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which Yahuwah has promised to them that love him. Let no man say, when he is tempted, I am tempted of Yah, for Yahuwah cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempts he any man, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust has conceived, it brings forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, brings forth death. All praises. So, being cast to and fro by self-will and desire, set apart Ruach as the remedy. Ephesians 4:1. Therefore, the prisoner of the master, beseech you that you walk worthy of the calling wherewith you are called, with all lowliness and meekness and long suffering, forbearing one another in love. So I was hitting on this earlier about these priests. This nation of priests, how do we walk worthily of our calling? Is it going to be with the bringing the hammer like the nations have done us? Or is it going to be with lowliness and meekness, long suffering, forbearing one another in love?
As a priest of Yahuwah, first of all, you have to get to know Yahuwah, which means you have to be in a true committed relationship unto him that ain't being neglected. You don't neglect your relationship with him, he'll show you the work that needs to be done. You will mature. Getting to know Yahuwah, you know the judgment's gonna come. And when it comes, it's gonna fall. It is the hammer. Nobody's gonna escape that. So you don't have to force Yahuwah's ways on anybody. For one, if you look at Yahuwah, he doesn't force his ways on anyone. So the best thing we could do is try to be an example. And when we see opportunity, the right season, not just the right word in any season, but the right word in the right season, then we might be able to speak it convincingly, seizing the opportunity or the moment to show somebody why it's better to do what they're doing in another way that's pleasing unto Yahuwah, pointing out the consequences of sin so that they can tie the two together if it's applicable. But not just doing whatever we feel like because we got the right word. Any season is the right season.
My mind is just going to looking at Noah. You don't hear anything about him running and trying to chase down the raven. He let it free, it did his thing, and he said, well, went back to the ark and grabbed grabbed the dove. It wasn't trying to force the raven to be anything that it wasn't. Once it did what it did, it just kept going to and fro, and he watching it go to and fro the whole time.
If I can, yeah, that's told between what you two are saying, operating. If you nurture that relationship with Yahweh, you will be taught. He said, I will teach you. If you seek me, I will be found of you. If you, and so if you nurturing that relationship with Yah, you will be taught and you will mature. It's hands down, it's going to happen. Why? Because you're going to see what he's showing you and you're going to respond to it. So we can't sit here and be shown things by Yahweh, not respond to them, not accept what he's showing us, and then blame anybody outside of ourselves for the lack of maturity. We can't do that because what he said in another place, look, my word is not far from you. You ain't got to go to outer space to get it. It's right here near unto you. I'm talking to you right in your face. Listen,
you just stick to my word. It's gonna purge away what needs to be purged. It's gonna do the work. Don't add to it, don't take away from it.
And so if you have, like just thinking in the olden times, if you had a priest or had someone there who was operating and showing you through their walk or how they learned, like Mashiach, I can't give you more than what the scriptures is giving you. You can't blame anybody outside of yourself for not maturing if you're not walking in that manner. If you're not applying the scriptures as is instructed, because like you said earlier, through obedience will you get understanding. You can't sit here and question it first or disbelieve it first. Oh, that ain't it. That's not how it's gonna happen.
Or any that might hear this and wonder where those scriptures are. Psalms 111 verse 10 says, for the fear of the Adonai is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments. His praise endure forever. Also in Sirach chapter 21 and verse 11. He that keepeth the law of the Adonai getteth the understanding thereof, and the perfection of the fear of the Adonai is wisdom. It highlights the equation in Proverbs 1 and verse 23, where he challenges us to first turn at his ways at his reproof, and then he'll pour out his spirit, which is increases our understanding of what he's been saying the whole time.
So we can't be out here being ravens.
That's so.
Look, we can't be that so raven, like for real. Like that was hilarious. And then expect to be mature or maturing in the Most High. We have to be operating in that meek, what's it say? You know, that meek spirit, that walking worthy of that vocation. You know, there's another place it tells us if you do these things, you will neither be fruitless nor, you know, so yeah.
All praises. All praises. So Ephesians 4:1 says, I therefore, the prisoner of the master, beseech you that you walk worthy of the calling wherewith you are called, with all lowliness and meekness, with long suffering, forbearing one another in love, endeavoring to guard the unity of the Ruach in the bond of peace. And just I put in parentheses a single mind or one mind in the Ruach. There is one body, one Ruach, even as you are called in one hope of your calling, one master, one belief of faith, one immersion, one Elohim and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. But unto every one of us is given favor according to the measure of the gift of Mashiach. Wherefore he says, when he ascended up on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts unto men. Now that he ascended, what is it but that he also descended first into the lower parts of the earth? He that descended is the same also that ascended up far above all heavens, that he might fill all things. And he gave some apostles, and some prophets, and some evangelists, and some pastors and teachers. Akoti brought that out earlier today. I told y'all was hot grease today. For the perfecting of the Kodashim, or the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Mashiach.
Why did it say we were given these gifts and these assignments, these appointments, these functions?
To heap it up to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Right. So I can.
No, that's not right.
So I can.
Oh. I thought this was a Ravens club. I'm out of here.
All phrases, right?
No, it's for the welfare of your neighbor, that the work of the king might be done. And it goes back to what we are submitted unto. What are we submitted unto? What's the purpose of us doing what we do? Or have we not thought that out? Because once we make a decision, we openly make a commitment to the king, we're expected to uphold that regardless of how the weather and the scenarios change. We're expected to be on guard. Every time I'm not on guard, I do something I ain't got no business. Then I look like Boo Boo the Fool because I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, it's supposed to be for the perfecting of the saints.
All praises. All praises. Till we all come into the unity of one or of the belief. So this is something that we all have to be doing until this happens. And of the knowledge of the Son of Elohim unto a perfect man, unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Mashiach. Unto the measure of the stature of the fullness of Mashiach. As Akoti, as Sis was saying earlier. Nah, this is not, the buck don't stop with him. It's so that we can live up to that standard. That we henceforth be no more children. Toss what? To and fro.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up. My children enjoy the movie Sonic 2. where they introduce Knuckles. And the part that gets me is like, I'm a kid destined to restore honor to my tribe. And it always hits me as a little deeper than the kitty cartoon. When she came and restored honor to his tribe. Now his tribesmen are supposed to rear up a life and relationships that honor the king, restoring honor unto that relationship. What's it there for? He's merciful beyond measure, beyond what we deserve. And the only thing he asks, doesn't require, but asks, is for his praise. But not just for him, but so that the nations have something to look to. Big me up so that they know where to turn when they can't figure out where to find mercy without making an allegiance with something that's only going to bring more death. It just, it gets deep. Like, we did a major work, and now we got to do our part.
That part. All praises. Verse 14, that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. But speaking the truth in love may grow up into him in all things, which is the head, even Mashiach, from whom the whole body fitly joined together and compacted by that which every joint supplies, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part, makes increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love. All praises. First Peter 3:8 says, finally, be you all of one mind, having compassion one of another. So now we talking about this having one mind and being of a single mind. But we're going to see that single mind has to be towards Elohim. If it's not towards him, Tara Babel, it's going to be a hot mess. Having compassion one of another, love as brethren, be pitiful, be courteous, not rendering evil for evil or railing for railing, but contrariwise blessing, knowing that you are thereunto called.
General scenario. Somebody within the tribe deal with the outside after, to the Jew first. Somebody within the tribe does you wrong. The Father in the power of his Ruach gives you the strength. So instead of even consider strangling them, to give it to him and to pray for their blessing. Not that they be blessed in the continuance of evil, but that they be blessed to recognize why what they did was wrong so that they can willingly choose to repent and then bring forth told. No more bringing forth the evil that they were doing. But if you give them evil for evil, it's only going to incite more evil. It's spiritual first, then it manifests in the physical. But if we don't operate out of one of the fruit of his spirit, patience, long suffering, then we won't even be able to see the play that we could put down for righteousness' sake. If we keep operating rashly and out of haste, we ain't gonna put up no points for righteousness. We're gonna keep scoring for the wrong team.
To the building up of the saints, to all come into the knowledge. Come on. All praises. Verse 10, he says, for he that love life and see Tob days, let him restrain his tongue from evil, and his lips that they speak no guile. Let him eschew evil and do Tob. Let him seek peace and ensue it. For the eyes of Yahuwah are over the righteous, and his ears are open unto their prayers. But the face of Yahuwah is against them that do evil. And who is he that will harm you, if you be followers of that which is told? But and if you suffer for righteousness' sake, happy are you. And be not afraid of their terror, neither be troubled. But sanctify Yahuwah, or that should be Yahusha, the Mashiach, in your hearts, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asks you a reason of the hope that is in you with meekness and fear. Having a told conscience that whereas they speak evil of you, as of evildoers, they may be ashamed that falsely accuse your Tob conversation in Mashiach. For it is better, if the will of Yahuwah be so, not your will, that you suffer for well-doing than for evil-doing. I just notice only the Ruach of Yahuwah will have you suffer for the Father's will to be done. The self-will of the flesh would not do such a thing. It's not going to want you to up front. It'll cause you to suffer in the long run, but up front, you're not going to just walk into it like that. Flesh don't operate that way. It's J.G. Wentworth. This is my money, and I want it now. All praises. It says, for Mashiach also has once suffered for sins, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to Yahuwah, being put to death in the flesh, but quickened by the Ruach, by which also he went and preached unto the spirits in prison, which sometime were disobedient, when once the long suffering of Yahuwah waited in the days of Noah, while the ark was a preparing, wherein few, that is 8 souls, were saved by water. The like figure whereunto even immersion also or does also now save us, not the putting away of the filth of the flesh, but the answer of a Tob conscience towards Yahuwah, by the resurrection of Yahushua HaMashiach, a clean heart, who is gone into heaven and is on the right hand of Yah, angels and authorities and powers being made subject unto him.
This thing is deep, how it says in verse 21, the like figure whereunto even immersion does also now save us. That immersion put a lot of people to death because they didn't go into it willingly. That immersion being, you're going to pass under the rod. You will submit to my will and my way because I'm not going to allow wickedness to continue. Especially not when I come and establish my kingdom. Right now, I'm allowing a realm to exist where I'm not dominating. But don't think that Yahuwah ain't going to come through. You willingly submit to that immersion, meaning I'm going to put this flesh to death. I'm going to judge myself lest I be judged. Which makes us righteous, makes us spiritual, not just carnal, elevating from being considered beast of the field to upright and being man or champion, entering into the contest of warring against yourself and against darkness. Same thing is coming. Either you can be saved by the immersion or you're going to be drowned by it based on what we're willing to relinquish and what we refuse to let go of.
All praises. Just notice the parallel Peter makes between the flood of Noah and immersion. I just brought it out. All praises. Whole mouthful there. All right, so y'all bear with me. I'm gonna try to pick up pace a little bit because I do want to not have a little piece to have to come back to on the next one. So, but if I start reading or moving a little bit too quickly, or if Father inspires, gives y'all something, definitely still slow us down. But otherwise, if you notice why I'm gonna start picking up pace a little bit, that's why. All praises. So, sis brought this out earlier. Keep in mind the book of Jonah, which means dove, is ultimately about a prophet having to do the will of the Father over self-will. That's what it's all about. And even when he wanted to choose his will over the Father's will, something started happening to this boat on the water. And before you know it, he was about to get taken over and consumed by the flood. If it don't be for this well saving his life, it's a wrap.
That part.
All praises.
Oh man, that's deep. The big fish. Should you not be fishers of men?
Mm.
As much as you don't want to go to this angry, honorary, seemingly can't get right people, this act of you fulfilling my will that I might reel this fish in
Mhm.
saves our relationship.
Mhm.
Because right now your rebellion is worthy of death.
Mm.
But
All
when you
praises.
submit unto the king's will that his will might be done through your sacrifice,
Mhm.
it's an opportunity for you to be proven a friend and your iniquity being overlooked.
Mhm. All praise.
That was deep. That is the big fish. That's good.
The day Abiyahu he puts his name, on his on us on this people, So we like if we do get us beside ourselves and want to repay evil for evil, he's like, hold on, wait a minute, what about you? What about those times when I overlooked you and what you did? Now wait a minute, now you out of pocket, you got a line, I'm mm-hmm. Yeah. So regardless, it's beautiful. Like there's no opportunity to try to, revenge it. Like he said, revenge is mine. So like all of it belongs to Yahuwah. Just do what you're supposed to do. I'll take care of the rest.
So Matthew 3:13, and we're gonna start seeing this pattern in Mashiach. All right. So Matthew 3:13, it says, then came Yahusha from Galilee to the Jordan unto Yehukanan John to be immersed of him. But Yehukanan John forbade him, saying, I have need to be immersed of you, and come you to me? And Yahusha answering said unto him, suffer it to be so now, for thus it becomes us to fulfill all righteousness. Then he suffered him. And Yahusha, when he was immersed, went up straightway out of the water, and lo, the heavens were open unto him. Now, let's just take a pause and go back to what it said in Genesis. What did it say in Genesis when the rains came? That the heavens opened, right? The floodgates of the heavens started to pour out, and the fountains broke from below. Now, and also keep in mind that something about these windows or these of heaven opening up, and then you got something about this window that Noah put on the ark, and we're gonna leave that there. But just see how this is all working in Mashiach. All right, so it says, and Yahusha, when he was immersed, went up straightway out of the water, and lo, the heavens were open unto him, and he saw the Ruach of Yahuwah descending like a dove and lighting upon him. And lo, a voice from heaven saying, this is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased. I just want to highlight that. That's the end goal. Then was Yahusha led up of the Ruach into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil, or of Hashatan. I wonder, could this be any coincidence with this also Prince Mastema? And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, now just to highlight, the yellow highlights, we're going to see that this is what's going on by the will of Elohim. The blue is what Mashiach's will is, and you're going to see which one he chooses. And when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, say 40 days, 40 nights.
40 days, 40 nights.
I appreciate y'all's cooperation. So now notice how long did it rain for?
40 days, 40 nights.
All praises. So now, just like Noah, there was this immersion and all of this that's taking place, and now you're seeing the same process Mashiach walking. All praises, Ak. All praises. All praises. Whew. That part. Mm-hmm. All praises.
taking them to church up in here.
All praises. So it says, and when he had fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was afterward hungry, his desire. And when the tempter came to him, tempting him with his desire, he said, if you be the son of Elohim, command that these stones be made bread. But he answered and said,
What's that, Reverend?
it is, I said, let me stop. Let me stop. It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahuwah. But then the devil took him up into the holy city, his desire, and set him on a pinnacle of the temple, and said unto him, if you be the son of Elohim, cast yourself down, for it is written, he shall give his angels charge concerning you, and in their hands they shall bear you up, lest any time you dash your foot against a stone. And Yahushua said unto him, it is written again, you shall not tempt Yahuwah your Elohim. Again, the devil took him up into an exceeding high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world. All the kingdoms of the world. Something that's supposed to belong to him. And the esteem of them, and said unto him, all these things will I give you, if you will fall down and worship me. Then said Yahushua unto him, get you hence, Shaitan, for it is written, you shall worship Yahuwah your Elohim, and him only shall you serve. Then the devil left him, and behold, angels came and ministered unto him. You look like you got something, Art.
Nah. Try to get it out. For one, just at the end there, put the kibosh on it, like the scriptures say, resist him, and he will flee. But really, what did Mashiach have to resist? The opportunity to do his own will. Now, know how Master or Shaitan operates. When he tempts you with your own desires, it's so that he might accuse you. There's a law he's trying to get you to violate by bigging you up and trying to encourage you to do your own will. And he's strategic with the angles that he takes. Looking at Yahushua's exaltation, just based off these scriptures, it looked like the wicked one's best angle was to try and convict or accuse Mashiach of operating in vainglory. If you be the son of Elohim, but he could only capture Mashiach in that if Mashiach wasn't secure in who he was. Knowing who you are, you don't have to exalt yourself for that to be shown. Your confidence is not lacking, so you don't need pseudo self-esteem.
All praises.
Because as you were saying, like, yeah, that was being pointed out to me as well. He kept taking him and putting him on these pinnacles, on these pinnacles, on these pinnacles. And the thing that popped up in my mind was, as the serpent was lifted up, so shall the Son of Man also need to be lifted up. Hashatan came and tried to lift him up with his own will, tried to do his own lifting of him. But when we think about who Mashiach was, the embodiment, his express image of Yahuwah, what is the desire of Yahuwah? Yahuwah wants to be chosen. You know what I'm saying? And so, but knowing that Yahuwah wants for his creation to choose him willingly, what was Hashatan really trying to tempt him of? Like it said, vainglory, lifting himself up in order that he may make mankind to choose him. Because after all of this happened, what ended up happening? Give us Barabbas. Give us Barabbas. We chose Bar Abba. We chose somebody's son. Simon Bar Jonah, Simon, son of Jabbar. You know, we chose somebody's son, but we didn't choose Mashiach. We didn't choose the son. Yep. speak to us smooth things. We ain't trying to hear all of that potent stuff that you talking about that's gonna make us have to do something and change and apply your word as it is written. Speak to us smooth things.
But you know what's also crazy is that Satan has to check with Abiyahu before he does anything anyway. Abaya gives him authority and power. So what Satan is saying with us, just do understand that whenever you are tempted with something that, you know, some type of prosperity or money, whatever case may be, Abiyahu has to agree with that, and he has to let it happen anyway. So all of the power of Satan goes back to Abiyahu anyway. So it's best just to go on and resist him so he can flee. Because regardless of the fact, like, all of it comes from Abiyahu. He has no control.
Hallelujah.
All praises. Notice it's counted our joy when you fall into various temptations, diverse temptations. Keep in mind, it's an opportunity to sin and it's an opportunity to sin not. You either gonna see what's this is in me, or you gonna see, oh, this is in me. Through that victory, you say, oh, nah, hold on, nah, I know I can overcome. I'm an overcomer. Or you gonna be overcame.
Was it the apostle or was over the apostle? It's an empty word. I'm trying to think of what it was. But they counted it. They rejoiced when they got beaten, or whoever it was.
That was an Acts, yep.
Okay, yeah. This is what made me think of.
The apostle Paul, the apostle Shaul recognizing, wait, there's Tov and Ra in me. When you recognize that, okay, which one are you going to choose to feed? At that point, one of them going to need to starve, the other one's going to rise up.
All praises. All right, all praises. So the Tower of Babel as a manifestation of self-will. All right, so Genesis 10:1, it says, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood. And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mitzrayim, and Put, and Canaan. And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Hafta, and Ra'ama, and Hafteka, or Sabteka, I'm sorry. And the sons of Ra'ama, Sheba, and Dedan. And Cush begot Nimrod, and he began to be a warrior and hunter in the earth. He was a warrior and a hunter before Yahuwah, wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the warrior hunter before Yahuwah. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, or Babel, and Iraq, and Akkad, and Calneh in the land of Shinar. So H2490, this is the same word that we saw earlier at the end of Genesis chapter 5, where it said that in those days began to call upon the men began to call upon the name of Elohim. This is the same word here. When he begins to be a warrior in the earth, what is he doing? He's wounding, profaning, causing it to be dissolved, to defile, pollute, profane, to slay. These are all, this is what he's doing in the earth as a mighty warrior.
Showing how big and bad they are outside of you.
Let us rule by our strength and our might. And then that word for before is the word panaim or pane, which means in the face, before his face. So literally he's doing this in Yahuwah's face or against his face, right in your face. Now this is interesting. You got something on?
I was gonna say, the Romans and Maccabees came in and defiled the temple with swine's blood and was taken with harlots in the temple. The same type thing.
Not in secret.
I'm coming to your ground and
I'm that big and bad. I do it to your face.
Come on. Yeah.
I just think that because we see in other places as well that, and they came to each other's face. That's aggression.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally what it's speaking to. So it says when he was a hunter in the face of Yahweh, he was a hunter and aggressively,
Mm-hmm.
he
Mhm.
was aggravating Yahweh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So for the sake of time, we will only focus on one part of the genealogy of Genesis 10. When we look at Nimrod, mind you, there's still a place called Nimrud. Okay. One of the sons of Ham, we see that he is one that seems to be provoking Elohim to his face. We see that he is responsible for establishing Babel, which we will look at more in the next slide. So now in the next slide, we're going to look at a chiasm. All right. So chiastic structure. I color coded all of the points and then we summarize them on the side here. All right. So remember, this is a Tower of Babel as a manifestation of self-will. So I'm going to back to Genesis 10:32, the verse right before Genesis 11, just to give this framing in a little bit. All right. So these are the families of the sons of Noah after their generations. So generations is highlighted. We've been keep on dancing on this term generations. Next slides, we're going to really look at this term generations and what it's doing. In their nations, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. So let's just say, which we will look at it in a little bit more in the next slide, that these sons are responsible for these nations. All right. So Genesis 11:1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, same land of Nimrod that he went to establish. So it's something maybe about Nimrod's will as a leader and ruler over this land that now is being manifested in the task that they've taken up, right? And they dwelt there. And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and slime had they for mortar. Now that same word for slime just is the same word hamar for like pitch or tar, the same waterproofing that was put on the ark, that this ark or this basket that Moses was put in to float on the water. Come on. So literally, when they're building this tower, they got in mind, it's been flooded once. Bet you we won't be flooded again. There you go. All righty. So he's the son of a Lord. Come on. And they said, go to, let us build a city and a tower whose top may reach unto the heavens. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And Yahuwah came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men built. And Yahuwah said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down, and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. So now, mind you, when we were looking in these past slides, there's a oneness and a unity and on one accord that we are called to have as the sons of Elohim, but it's only going to come through his Ruach. Without that, anything else that we plan to do may as well be the Tower of Babel. Come on. Yeah. So Yahuwah scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel, because Yahuwah did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did Yahuwah scatter them abroad upon the face of all the earth. Excuse me. So the way that a chiasm works is you have a a passage. And this passage will be, the story is told thematically in forward. Then there's what's called a central axis or a pivot point, a climax of the story, the main point of the story. And then the story will be told thematically in the same order, but in reverse. All right, so it's all color coded, and you'll see how verse by verse, the story is told in forward. There's a pivot point right there in the middle. Say, focus on this part. This is the moral of the story. And then it's going to go back in reverse. And you know the moral of the story because it's right there always right there in the middle. And then once the story pivots and turns in reverse, you know, if you miss what the main point was, you say, hold on, put it in reverse. Let me back because I missed something. It's going back. We're going in the wrong direction now. So I might have missed the pivot point or the main point. All right. So point A. All right. You got one language, unity, and one purpose, right? Whole earth was in one language, one speech. At the end, Genesis 9, you see confused language, no unity, dispersion, and scattering. So both of these points is all about unity, being on one accord, and gathering to one place, and then scattering from this place. Next point, verse 2 and verse 8. Point B, they were on one place. They were all in one place on one accord. And it came to pass as they journeyed from the east, they found this plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. Point B1, Genesis 11:8. You who have scattered them from abroad. So this plan that they came together to do, now you're seeing they're leaving from this one place. They're scattered to many places on the earth. Point C, verse 3 and verse 7. Man's plans for building the tower, right? They said to one another, go, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. This is their planning, their plan. And they had brick. Sorry. Let us make brick. Construction plans. Point C1, you see Yahuwah's plan. So both of these points are all about plans. Man's plans versus Yahuwah's plan. Yahuwah's plan to disrupt their building of the tower. This is where he looked down and said, well, let us go down and we can confuse their language. And this is how we'll stop their point. Point D, man's purpose for building the tower. We find out what motivated them. Why did they want to do it? Well, let us make a name for ourselves so that we can ascend to the heavens. Verse 6, Yahuwah's purpose for halting the plan in the building of the tower. So notice you see there, both is about purpose of why each is moving the way that they're moving. Central axis, point E. And Yahuwah came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men built. So here's a question for you to ask yourself. What did Yahuwah see in his examination? And was their will in alignment with his? This is all about the two wills. It's going to come a point to where the Father is going to bring whatever your will is to the forefront. And like you said earlier, give you just enough rope to hang yourself. If this is, so this is your will. So here comes these judgments, and this is how I'm going to respond and act because of that. We're going to see a pattern even in that. All right, so we told on the chiastic structure, right? And these are all throughout. We'll probably go through. I don't know. We'll see where the Father leads, but they're all throughout. There's definitely more of those to come. You can't make it up. The scripture, a man can't, he's not capable of writing something with such mastery. So the Tower of Babel has a manifestation of self-will. So notice what we see when we look at this passage chiastically. The story is broken up into two halves, with both pivoting upon a central axis. What is Yahuwah showing us? If we think back, we see that this is a continuation of a theme that has been underlying every generation or Toledo that we have looked at. In each generation, there has been an arrangement in place to receive acceptance and or redemption with Yahuwah. When we look at it, there's a battle and a choosing of self-will over the will of the creator that takes place, causing Elohim to narrow his selection down, focusing on one person or group in the next generation. Generation after generation, Elohim chooses those of a particular quality and character to offer redemption to mankind. Through this small group, he allows for the preservation of the previous generation and those left out if they will turn from their ways and follow the example that is being set from the forerunners of the next generation. This is part of the significance of the two natures of the raven and of the dove. I didn't finish that sentence. Here's what I mean. So generation one, and I'm just going through when you see this word generation or Toledo in the scriptures, we can go through it in order and you're going to see that each one of these is a pivot point in the story and something for you to notice. Oh, new cycle. And he's done narrowed this thing down and he's going to try it again. So the generations of the heavens and the earth. Now, mind you, in creation, all that he created was what? Told me, oh, right? I saw this and it was very good. The whole earth. Now, everything has to do is operate on one accord to what my will is, and everyone will benefit from covenant relationship with me as their Lord. Right? Animals didn't eat one another. They ate the vegetation, and there was nothing but peace and shalom. But then you're going to see that something's going to occur, and you're going to start seeing these trickle down effects. And now the animals don't have the doorway in. Their door gets closed. Man's door is closed, and it's going to keep narrowing, and the door closes more and more each generation. It will behoove us to consider our generation. Ain't but a sliver left open. That's it. Generation of the heavens and the earth. Genesis 2:4 is when we see this word for generations. Adam and Kuah is in the garden. They're given an opportunity for acceptance. All of mankind are beneficiaries of the blessing. A choice is presented between Elohim's will and self-will. Disobedience causes them to be sent forth, dispersed, or scattered from the garden. The next time we will see the word generation is in Genesis 5 with the children of Adam. And this is going to be headlined with Seth. All right. So next time we see the generation of Adam / mankind is Genesis 5:1. It says Cain and Abel, given an opportunity for acceptance. They are considered for blessing. All of mankind is given an opportunity for preservation if accepted. Consider this curse on the woman. Through your seed. Gonna crush the head of the serpent. But they got to act right. And what happens with this opportunity for all of mankind to benefit from this? It gets squandered. Cain kills the righteous one, and he's the only one left. A choice is presented between Elohim's will and self-will. Disobedience causes Cain to be sent forth, dispersed, or scattered into the land of Nob as a wanderer and vagabond. Cain leaves the face of Yahuwah and builds a city to build a name for his family line. Just draw a parallel to Nimrod and what he's doing with the Tower of Babel. Now notice Cain left the face of Yahuwah. Nimrod is progressively getting worse. Nimrod goes to the face of Yahuwah and say, I'm gonna do what not only my ancestor brought, my spiritual forefather, if you will, he built the city but left your face, I'm gonna do this thing right here in your face to spite you, knowing I'm gonna even level it up even worse than what he did. And he did as bad as it can possibly probably be done.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's something how the root of vainglory can lead you to openly showing enmity toward the Father. Because that's what that's rooted in. The more stuff I prove I can do, the more men is gonna worship me instead of me ushering worship and praise unto the Father.
Oh, somebody. Generation of Noah. Next time we see generation Toledot is generation 6-9. Noah is given an opportunity for acceptance. He is considered for a blessing. All of mankind is given this opportunity for preservation if accepted. A choice is presented between Elohim's will and self-will. Noah is seen as a righteous man in his generation and is given favor. Disobedience causes the world to be destroyed. The earth is rebooted with man's new opportunity to please the Creator by doing his will and turning from their own. Generation of the nations, or the sons of Noah. That's the next time we see generation. Genesis 10:1-32. So now notice it went from all of mankind and all the animals. Door got shut a little bit more. Okay, well, we're going to deal specifically with these sons of Adam and let's see if they can redeem this thing. Doesn't get done. Okay, well, it ain't going to be all of mankind. Let me slim this down to Seth's line. Cain, we're not even going to worry about that. Okay, then you notice all of Seth's line doesn't do it, because then we see in the days of Seth, men began to profane the name of Yahuwah. Not all of Seth's line. Okay, it won't be all of Seth's line. Is there any that is in Seth's line that's redeemable, that I can try this thing again with? Now he finds Noah. He finds Noah. Okay, Noah has 3 sons. Well, let's see if we can. All these nations, Tower of Babel happening. All of these nations are here, and they all coming together on one accord to be against my face. Okay, so now let's slim it down. It ain't gonna be all of the sons of Noah. Let's slim this down, close the door a little bit. So not only it's just not gonna be all of Seth's line, it ain't gonna be all of Noah's line. Who of Noah's line? Now here we are with Shem. And then you're gonna notice that this pattern is gonna keep on continuing. But it says all of the 70 nations of Noah's sons are given an opportunity for acceptance. And we're getting at 70. If you count up all of the table of nations in Genesis 10, it's 70 in total. They are considered for a blessing. All of mankind is given an opportunity after the flood in Genesis 9:1-12 to be fruitful and multiply. And a covenant is established with Noah and his sons for all generations under the stipulation that blood not be shed. So remember, it was not just with Noah after the flood that the covenant got made, but it was with his sons as well. The whole earth is given an opportunity to benefit from the covenant as long as they adhere to it. Keep in mind that the shedding of man's blood was even extended to the animals. He would even require it of them. A choice is given between man's will and Elohim's will. Notice how we just keep repeating the same cycle. Disobedience causes the 70 nations to be sent forth, dispersed, and scattered. The line of Shem is chosen for the next generation's chance at redemption for all. So now notice that if that one generation gets it right, then the door is opened up for all of the ones that got it wrong. They don't just get cut off. Come on. If we're saying Romans 11, if the nations have profited and benefited from Israel being down, how much more? But to the resurrection from the dead, all of the nations will have an opportunity, even though they messed it up, for mercy. If we can get it right, then you're going to see that there's a pattern. Generation of Shem, that's Genesis 11:10, right after the table of, or after the Tower of Babel. Then now here we, new generation. That ain't going to work with all the nations. Here we go with Shem. Notice the pattern continues. The next time we see generation is with Terah. It continues through Abraham, Isaac, Jacob and his 12 sons, Levi and the sons of Aaron, Judah and the sons of David. Then we get all the way down to Yahushua HaMashiach. But notice, he gets it right. Then all of Israel can turn back and the doors open back up for us through what he does. And if we would just turn and choose the Father's will, now the door's back open for us because he was righteous in his generation. Now that gives us the opportunity to be a light to the nations. And then now the nations have an opportunity and it's open back up to them. If this generation gets it right, the door gets opened back up for all. This is what we're going to see next portion, with Abram being a father to many nations, and those that bless you shall be blessed, and those that curse you shall be cursed. This is what it's all about with Israel.
Come on.
All praises. So we are almost done. I'm gonna zoom through this because we'll get the point. All right. So Deuteronomy 32 verse 1, it says, "Give ear, O you heavens, and I will speak, and Yahuwah, and hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. My doctrine shall drop as the rain, my speech shall distill as the dew, as the small rain upon the tender herb, and as the showers upon the grass." This is how his word comes forth. Is it? That's right. And you're gonna be gentle. It's a gentle mist upon the tender herb.
Yeah, like where anybody that's gardened it or grown up something from the seed, you'll notice if you using a water can that lets out too much water, like it's gonna knock that little sprouting down into the soil. You might not recover it. It's a tender herb, like it hasn't developed a strong stalk yet to be able to endure winds and waves.
All praises. Because I will publish the name of Yahuwah, ascribe you greatness unto our Elohim. He is the rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are judgment and el of truth and without iniquity. Just and right is he. They have corrupted themselves. Their spot is not the spot of his children. They are a perverse and crooked generation. Say generation.
Generation.
They have corrupted, or do you thus requite Yahuwah, O foolish people and unwise? Is not he your father that has bought you? Has he not made you and established you? Remember the days of old. Consider you the years of many generations. So that process, what we just saw, going through these generations, consider this and what he's doing. Now look at your generation. How many generations have passed? How open or closed is the door? Really consider the days of many generations. Ask your father, and he will show you, your elders, and they will tell you. When El Elyon, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when did he divide to the nations their inheritance? We just read that. When he separated the sons of men, when did he separate the sons of men? He set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. Okay, so we're going to stop and we say, well, what is the number of the children of Israel? See Genesis 46, 26, and 27. We'll see that on the next slide. For Yahuwah's portion is his people. Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. Now, interestingly, that's according to the Masoretic text. Here it is in the Septuagint. A little bit different. When the Most High divided the nations, he separated the sons of Adam, or the sons of man. He set the bounds of the nations according to the number of the angels of Elohim. Question, well, what is the number of the angels of Elohim? Deuteronomy 32:8 in the Dead Sea Scrolls. When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, he separated the children of men. He set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Elohim. That's Dead Sea Scrolls 4Q37 Deuteronomy. So in each case, the number is 70. There are 70 nations, 70 all praises, 70 sons of Israel. So you got to ask, well, what is Yahuwah doing in Israel? What is he doing in that generation? What is he doing? Except opening back up the door to all 70 nations and saying, hey, I'm going to start with this remnant of the whole, and we're going to start again. And hopefully, if they get it right, they're going to open the door up to the rest.
Generation of Jubilee. Jubilee being 50 and generation 20.
All praises.
Even the nature of the refining process changes through time, because it says in there, and I love thinking on that scripture that he came, that the law could not make one perfect concerning the conscience. That's why Mashiach came. And that's the refining process. Before Father Dave was speaking to, I know now that you desire truth on the inward parts. So now your refining process is affecting even. So I'm gonna tell if you one on the outside, because your inside is gonna reflect it.
There we
Period.
go.
So that refining process, generation after generation after generation, that's that shutting down. You ain't got as much leniency as the generation before
There we
in
go.
ignorance. Because with each one, like, ask your fathers, they will tell you, consider the generations of, oh, you don't have as much lenience because now you can look back so far and see what was done wrong and what was done right. Hallelujah. But yeah, that refining process, cold peace.
Our praises. I swear we almost done, y'all. All praises. So the Abba. All right, so Genesis 46 and 26, this is what sis was just saying. All the souls that came with Jacob into Egypt, which came out of his loins, besides Jacob's sons, women, all the souls were 66. That's 70. All the sons of Joseph, which were born him in Egypt, or Mizraim, were 2 souls. All the souls of the house of Jacob, which came into Egypt, were 70. That is 70. Jasher chapter 9, because Septuagint says something about that according to the number of the angels. Okay. Jasher chapter 9, 23. And all the families assembled, consisting of about 600,000 men, and they went to seek an extensive piece of ground to build the city and the tower. And they sought in the whole earth, and they found none like the valley at the east of the land of Shinar, about 2 days' walk. And they journeyed there, and they dwelt there. And they began to make bricks and fire and burn fires to build the city and the tower that they had imagined to complete. And the building of the tower was unto them a transgression and a sin, and they began to build it. And while they were building against Yahuwah Elohim of heaven, they imagined in their hearts to war against him and to ascend into heaven. And all these people and all their families divided themselves in 3 parts. The first said, we will ascend into heaven to fight against him. The second said, we will ascend to heaven and place our own Elohim there and serve them. And the third part said, we will ascend to heaven and smite him with bows and spears. And Elohim knew all their works and all their evil thoughts. And he saw the city and the tower which they were building. And when they were building, they built themselves a great city and a very high and strong tower. And on account of its height, the mortar and bricks did not reach the builders in their ascent to it until those who went up had completed a full year. And after that, they reached to the builders and gave them the mortar and the bricks. Thus was it done daily. And behold, these ascended and others descended the whole day. And if a brick should fall from their hands and get broken, they would all weep over it. And if a man fell and died, none of them would look at him. And Yahuwah knew their thoughts. And it came to pass when they were building, they cast the arrows forward, or they cast the arrows toward the heavens, and all the arrows fell upon them, filled with blood. And when they saw them, they said to each other, surely we have slain those that are in heaven. For this was from Yahuwah in order to cause them to err, and in order to destroy them from off the face of the ground. And they built the tower and the city, and they did this thing daily until many days and years were elapsed. And Elohim said to the 70 angels, 70, who stood foremost before him to those who were near him, saying, come, let us descend and confuse their tongues, that one man shall not understand the language of his neighbor. And they did so unto them. So if you count the number of the nations according to Genesis 10, you will see that there are 70 nations total. One of these angels per nation.
Mhm.
This is the same number as the number of the sons of Israel. Now, we're not going to go to that particular part, but when you start looking at Daniel and you start seeing that there's a prince of Persia and a prince of the Grecians, there's a messenger, Michael, your prince, Israel,
Yes.
and you see that there are these, okay, we're just going to leave that there.
Hallelujah.
All praises.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Mhm.
One over each
Mhm.
nation.
Mhm.
And hit-
But you are now my portion, a nation or a people that was no people. Hmm?
The Malachim over Israel versus the Malachim elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Oh, keep up some vain glory. Mm. All praises. So hopefully you see what Elohim is doing in Israel for the sake of the 70 nations. But we will look at this more later. For now, I will leave you with a few points to consider as it pertains to what we are called to do and be. So I'm gonna speed through these, like really speed through these. But 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 1 through 12, you can read that whole segment there. So what's the purpose of the higher calling? You have to ask, what is Yahuwah doing in Israel? Why did he choose them as his people? Remember, Israel is not a part of the original 70 nations, but are a nation of people that were created by Elohim specifically for his purpose. The purpose existed before Israel even existed, as it was stated to Abraham, but we'll look more into this in the next portion. I just want us to look at verse 9. But if you are a chosen generation, and a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a peculiar people, that you should show forth the praises of him who has called you out of the darkness into his marvelous light, which in time past were not a people, but now are the people of Yahuwah, which had not obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. Dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims, abstain from fleshly lusts which war against the soul, having your conversation honest among the what? Other nations. This is why he chose this people that was not a people to be his people, so that they could do what? Show forth his light to the other nations, opening up the door where the other generations got it wrong. This is his mercy and long suffering.
Israel, his firstborn.
That whereas they speak against you as evildoers, they may by your told works, which they shall behold, esteem Yahuwah in the day of visitation. Something to consider. Jeremiah 16, 14 through 21. We know that, I'm going to go ahead and read this because it got brought up earlier about fishers. Therefore, behold, the days come, says Yahuwah, that it shall no more be said, Yahuwah lives that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but Yahuwah lives that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north and from all the lands whither he had driven them. And I will bring them again to their land and give that I gave unto their fathers. Behold, now Deuteronomy 32, he divided all of the lands, but he's going to give us the land that he divided for us and gave to us for a portion. Behold, I will send for many fishers, says Yahuwah, and they shall fish them. And after will I send for many hunters, and they shall hunt them from every mountain and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. For my eyes are upon all their ways. They are not hid from my face, neither is their iniquity hid from my eyes. And first I will recompense their iniquity and their sin double, because they have defiled my land. Now this land is his land, They have filled my inheritance with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things. O Yahuwah, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. The other nations, So something about gathering up Israel is going to cause this.
Come on. Say on, preacher.
O Yahuwah, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. The other nations shall come unto you from the ends of the earth and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. Shall a man make Elohim unto himself? And they are no Elohim?
Come on.
There's a one over every nation. Okay. Therefore, behold, I will this once cause them to know. I will cause them to know my hand and my might, and they shall know that my name is Yahuwah.
Come on. And I shall send out many fishers, and they shall fish for them. In the previous scripture, you are a chosen generation, a generation of Jubilee, royal priesthood. Jubilee coming when the priests rise up and teach the people the difference between Tov and Ra, light and dark, good and evil. The opportunity is there for you to become a fish and be drawn in by his loving kindness, his mercies, his not punishing you for every sin that you're worthy of being put to death for. Then the hunter is coming out. Not that we got to hunt anybody. This is Sirach chapter 39, starting at verse 29. Ecclesiasticus 39 and 29. Fire and hell and famine and death, all these were created for vengeance. Teeth of wild beasts and scorpions, serpents and the sword, punishing the wicked to destruction. They shall rejoice in his commandment, and they shall be ready upon earth when need is, and when their time is come. They shall not transgress his word. These judgments go out when the righteous standard is exalted, and now this is the new standard. And when it is ignored long enough, the hunters come out for all those that didn't allow for Mashiach to rule over them.
Praises.
And I think, if I can, right quick, just looking at this, like you said, deeper look at Yahuwah's plan, Jeremiah 16 and 15, that second one. But Yahuwah lives, that brought up the children of Yasharel from the land of the north and from the lands where he had driven them. And I will bring them again, this part, into their land that I gave unto their fathers. I think it's in Ezekiel, where it talks about in the building of that other temple. He is going to restore the positions of the people to what they were supposed to be, what he had placed us there for in the first place, and was neglected and negated.
Standard of righteousness in the midst of captivity among the nations. And now, for anybody who among the nations has, just become drunk with the downtroddenness of Israel, and that's where you stuck at subsequent to your own choices, you won't even see the opportunity to turn from your ways, be accepted and accounted for in the lot of the righteous, so that you can escape what's about to fall out on the earth and have the opportunity to be accepted into the kingdom, you and the lineages that you carry.
I thought that was in line with that, that Ezekiel scripture. He's going to restore the position.
Absolutely. All praises. All praises. High degrees. So Micah chapter 4, 1 through 7. I'm not going to read it for the sake of saving time, but this is, let me see. So yeah, this is Micah chapter 4, 1 and 7. You can just put in your notes. It pairs with Isaiah chapter 2, 2 through 6. Okay, it's a repeat. Micah is repeating what was written in Isaiah. The only difference is the last verse. So what you'll see is it'll take a break. All of the nations are supposed to come, and the law is gonna go forth out of Zion, the word from Jerusalem, and they're gonna go to the house of the Elohim of Jacob. And when they do so, they're gonna say, "Come ye, let us go up. We're gonna forsake our ways. Let us learn these ways of the Elohim of Israel. Walk in his paths." In Isaiah, there's a call, a reason that goes forth. It says, "Come ye, Yaakov, let us walk in the light of Yahuwah." That's what this is all about. And if we can walk in the light of Yahuwah, how much more for the nations? So notice how that call of being a priest we saw earlier started with what? Self. Then we can worry about going outward. Right? Acts 17. We'll see an example of this. Oh, this is a lot because the next slide is full of Acts 17 as well. I'll just say you can look at Acts 17, 16 through 34. All right. And this was where Shaul goes to, what is it, Athens, and he sees those that are worshiping the unnamed Elohim. And he goes and he says, "Well, why are you?" And he becomes that what? Light to these nations. This is the opportunity of redemption being brought to all of the nations, one through Mashiach, because he has redeemed Israel. Now that Israel is redeemed, now redemption can be given to the nations. If redemption is given to the nations, then all of the whole earth is going to benefit, because the earth is being subdued right now to violence and subject to violence under the hands and the rulership of the nations. So now you're going to see how everything, all of mankind, everything, once the government is properly set up, all of those things cease, and now the lion can lie with the lamb, and the child can play on the hole of the viper, and you start to see all it won't be no harm or hurt in his set apart mountain. This is how all of the whole plan has been mapped out from eternity. All right, that's just more of Acts 17. Like I said, you can go back and read it. I just put all of this is important, as we will later look at what Elohim is doing in us today and what hinges upon us as a nation under the headship of Mashiach Yahusha. This is where the Ruach comes in. Since we were talking about the Tower of Babel and the division of the nations, we can just take a brief look at Acts chapter 2, because Acts chapter 2 is a glimpse of that being reversed. Acts chapter 2, verse 1. And when the day of Shavuot was fully come, that's that Jubilee or that 50, they were all with one accord in one place. Now, this one accord in one place is going to work to build a true strong tower, a temple of Elohim in righteousness versus the Tower of Babel under the wicked plans of man. Also keep in mind, Shavuot is the wheat harvest. What's the wheat? Children of the kingdom. You know what? All right. So all praises. So, and when the day of Shavuot was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as a rushing mighty wind, just as it did in Genesis 11, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Ruach HaKodesh, and began to speak with other tongues, as the Ruach gave them utterance. And they were dwelling at Jerusalem, Yahudim, or Jews, children of Yehuda, devout men. So who were they? Yahudim out of every nation under heaven. So now notice they done been scattered into every nation. So you notice that those 70 nations got scattered and they became 70 nations. Now the 70 sons of Israel are now being scattered into these 70 nations, but now they're supposed to be, if they will look at this as an opportunity to sin not, it's an opportunity for us to be a light to the nations wherewith we have been scattered. And then our redemption will also be theirs. Now, this was noised abroad, or I just put, notice these other nations speaking other tongues were Israel primarily out of the nations they were dispersed to. That's the reason why, it's the only reason why people from the other nations are going to be drawn to this temple in the middle of a nation that's in captivity. Like, it's not just random folks from other nations. They're there, but we're going to see more about them and what they are. They're grafted into the Commonwealth of Israel. They're proselytes, converts. They not just coming in, doing their own thing and setting up shop and coming with their own. Like, no, these are those who have said, like it was in Exodus, let us become, we want to be a part of y'all's nation. So let me get circumcised and let me. There we go. All praises. So now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded because confounded or confused, just like they were confused in Babel, because that every man heard them speak his own language. Now notice they was confused in Babel because they couldn't understand the language. Now they're confused because they can. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how hear we every man in our own tongue wherein we were born? Parthians and Madai and Elam and the dwellers of Aram Naharam, and in Yehuda and Cappadocia and Pontus and Asia, Phrygia, Pamphylia, Egypt, and the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Yahudim and proselytes, Cretes and Arabs, we do hear them speak in our tongues the wonderful works of Yah. And they were all amazed and were in doubt, saying one to another, what does this mean? So notice the reversal under one spirit, the Ruach HaKodesh, that brought the languages back together, reversing what we saw during the Tower of Babel incident. At a later date, we'll be able to take a deeper dive into this, but I wanted to take this opportunity to take a look at what is being done in Israel through the Ruach and being on one accord with the Father through Mashiach Yahusha. So this is only going to happen when we subject ourselves to Yahuwah through Yahusha.
Whereas in one instance, he caused the dispersal and the confusion to where you couldn't comprehend one another. On the other end, because he's pleased with why you coming together, he's causing those that couldn't understand each other to understand each other. Like, yeah, that's deep.
All praises. Now, just to throw this in the backdrop, notice that the curse for the disobedience is scattering. The blessing for obedience is gathering. So, Deuteronomy 30 talks about when we start to end the nations wherewith we have been dispersed and scattered, when we turn back to him with our whole heart, then I will gather you from the four corners of the earth. Come on. So really, when we look at the generations, the many generations that have passed and the opportunity that is before us right now today, what really is before us? Come on. All praises. So I'll breeze through this, and I'm just gonna. This is just more for. This is the last slide, but this is just more for. This is just more for your own personal. For your own personal, just consideration. All right. Daniel chapter 7, verse 9. He says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like pure wool. His throne was like a fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. And a fiery stream issued and came forth before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were open. I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beast, nations, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven and came to the Ancient of Days. So you got Ancient of Days, and then you got Son of Man. And they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion as a Son of Man. A correction of all of the things that went wrong in all the prior generations. So notice through him getting it right, redemption is open, going all the way back to the beginning. So for everybody that had this mentality that, because of Israel is in place now, the nation's no chance. You might want to go back and fact check. But we got to subject ourselves to whoever this is, right? And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, and that all people, nations, languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting, a forever dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom, that which shall not be destroyed. So just keeping in mind what is really at stake. Because if we continue in Daniel, you're going to see in Daniel chapter 12, where he's talking about, these ones who were radiating as light, these sons of light. And, what did they do? They turned many away from sin. Well, what is sin? Transgression of Yahuwah's Torah. If you're trying to shine, you really want to get your shine on. This is how you do it. Show forth my praise. Be a light to the nations, that they might see you and your told works and give esteem to the Father in heaven. All praises. So that's the end all, right? Daniel chapter 9, and this is just something to consider. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression. 70 nations, 70 sons of it. Okay, what is the Father doing? To finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness, that everlasting kingdom, something that we're supposed to be doing and learning through the 70 weeks so that we can bring this in. All praises, major key. And to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem unto the Messiah, that was Micah chapter 4 and Isaiah chapter 2. The prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. The street shall be built again, and the wall, and even in troublous times. And after 62 weeks shall Mashiach be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. If you go back and look in Isaiah 2:4 or 2:5, they talk about nation and not going against nation anymore and turning their swords into plowshares. But then you look at Matthew 24, and he's talking about nation turning, nation being against nation, and doing it the other way around, turning the plowshares and the pruning hooks into swords and spears. So it says, and he shall confirm the covenant. This is what it's all about. Covenant with many for 1 week. And in the midst of the week, he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even until the consummation that the determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So all praises. I thank y'all. Whoa. I don't know how I did that. But basically,
I got my glasses on. I can't see
basically, all I was saying here in closing is I hope that this lesson was a blessing to everybody, and that we come out with something that we can apply for us today, because that's really what it's about. And for us to understand what the higher calling is for us today, starting in our own being, then in our own house, then as a nation coming together, then lights to all of the nations, right? It starts. This is how it all starts. So that's how I really wanted to pull it in, and it starts really with understanding and identifying the clean from the unclean. These two natures between this raven and this dove.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I thank y'all for bearing with me on this. This was a long one, but it was one of those ones where the father like gave it, and I was like, okay, and this is how it came out. So all praises. It was long, but hopefully beneficial. All praises.
All praises to the Most High. Yes, it was definitely edifying, definitely a memorable one. And I pray that, we retain this information about like you said, the requirement of the nation, first in our own homes, then to, our nation, then to the rest. We have to operate in that first, and then can we go out and by example first have walking worthy,
Mm-hmm.
then being that light, So all praises unto the Most High, every praise unto the Heavenly Father. Let me go ahead and get this back, because if that is all, we will go ahead and end everything. Most High keep you. Most High be with you as you go throughout your week. Most High beruk you and draw you ever closer unto Him in obedience unto Him, and help you to become the light that He is requiring of us to be. Praise to the Most High name of Yahushua Mashiach. I ask for those things for everybody under the sound of our voices. Hallelujah.